Do photographs accurately portray the situation accurately, or are they, at best, a charade for all to see? What appears to be a typical photograph may have a horrible past. As the saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words, or a tragic backstory in the case of this video. We look for some pictures that might look normal at first glance, but what those pictures really show is far from normal. Let's have a look. Number 1. Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571. This appears to be a lovely photograph with a group of men smiling at the camera and having a great time. But what occurred here is far worse, and quite tragic. This photograph was taken of a group of survivors from the crash of Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571 in the Andes. They were lost for 72 days before being rescued, with only 16 out of the 72 surviving. The most bizarre thing is that they were only 18 miles from a hotel, but they traveled in the opposite direction to look for help. Stranded and running low on food, they had to find other ways to survive. They were ultimately saved, but in order to survive, they had to resort to cannibalism. They may all be smiling in this snapshot, but it becomes spooky when you notice the human spine to the right of them. Number 2. The Harrington Violin. This appears to be a regular photograph of a violin, but it's actually the Harrington Violin, which belonged to Wallace Hartley, the Titanic's bandmaster and lead violinist. It was the one he kept with him and played the night the ship went down. Survivors said they saw Hartley and his band on the ship's deck during the disaster, playing music to soothe people as they frantically boarded the limited lifeboats. In their noble cause to calm down the passengers, Hartley and every member of the band died in the sinking. This violin holds the final memories of the ship. The only reason this violin is still in one piece is that Hartley placed it back into its monogrammed case for safety at some unknown time before the ship went below the waves. One of the ships deployed to rescue bodies from the wreck discovered it drifting in the debris field. Because of the engraved brass plate on the case, they were able to identify it as Hartley's, and it was returned to his fiancée, who kept it until her death. Her family authenticated it, and it was then sold for $1.6 million to the Titanic Relic Collection. Number 3. A tragic departure. You might think this is a romantic photo of a couple meeting by the seashore, but the reality of this photo is sad and not as romantic as you may think. This photo was taken by John Gaunt, a Los Angeles Times photographer, on April 2, 1954. He found himself in the front yard of his summer home next to the ocean, enjoying scenery, when he heard a ruckus. When he looked out, he saw a couple hugging each other beside the water. John grabbed his camera, shot a photo of them, and dashed to the beach. When he reached the place, he discovered that the couple's 19-month-old boy, who had been playing in their yard just moments earlier, had wandered out to the shore and at some point vanished into the waves. So the picture that initially looks like a romantic couple is actually a picture of a couple realizing that their child has been lost to the sea, never to be seen again. This heartbreaking shot was the winner of the Pulitzer Prize and was featured on the front page of the Los Angeles Times. Number 4. Girl in the Ocean. This is not a picture of a girl frolicking in the ocean. It's actually a girl being rescued. Her name was Terry Jo Duperrault. A ship found her floating in the ocean and rescued her. The picture was taken by one of the crew members of the ship when they first spotted her. When they questioned the girl, they discovered that her entire family had been killed on their sailboat by their appointed captain. The captain abandoned her as the boat sank, but she managed to escape and made it to a life float. The 11-year-old girl floated in the ocean for 4 days without food or water. She was severely scorched by the sun and traumatized by the experience. Jo was almost hard to spot. Her clothes were a pale pink color and her hair had turned blonde due to the bleaching effect of the sun's rays. Her survival was nothing short of a miracle. This incident is also what led the Coast Guard to forward instructions to make rescue equipment bright orange, so that it's easier to spot. Number 5. A not-so-normal family photograph. This photograph appears to show a loving family posing to create memories, but the reality is much different. The man you see in the yellow sweater carrying a baby in his hands is actually John Edwards Robinson. He is a serial killer, rapist, con artist, and kidnapper from the United States. The baby in his hands was named Tiffany. John had kidnapped the child after he had murdered her mother just a day before the photo was taken. John Edwards Robinson met women using online chat rooms designed to assist individuals to find sadomasochistic sex. He tricked women into meeting him only to murder them by using online chat rooms. He was convicted guilty of murdering 6 women, the remains of whom were discovered crammed into containers. John had then given the baby to his brother to take care of and told him that he had legally adopted the child and even asked his brother to pay the adoption fee. John's brother raised Tiffany for 15 years without ever knowing the truth behind her adoption or the fate of her mother. Number 6. A tragic proposal. You never know when something might go wrong. One moment things are the best they can ever be, and the next, it's all gone. Photographed here is the proposal letter of Stephen Weber. He was living with his girlfriend, Kenesha Antoine, in an underwater hotel room in the Manta Resort on Tanzania's Pemba Island. As planned, on the 3rd day, Stephen plunged into the ocean, wearing a mask and fins. His aim was to make an appearance outside his girlfriend's underwater hotel room. He did it to ask her to marry him with a message and a ring. The message here reads, "I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you. But everything I love about you, I love more every day." He then flipped the letter over to display the proposal. After that, he took out an engagement ring from his shorts. But tragically, he wasn't able to hold his breath long enough to hear his girlfriend's answer. He drowned before he could get out of the water. The hotel staff said there was an issue underwater and that it was too late by the time they did reach Stephen. Miss Antoine went on to say in a later Facebook post that Stephen Weber never got to hear her answer to his proposal, which she said would have been 1,000,000 times yes. Number 7. By the cliff. This looks like a beautiful shot of a girl standing by the cliff, photographing the view. But what transpired after this picture will make you forget all about that. Jolie Callan, who was only 18 at the time, was photographed for the last time in this picture. It was captured only moments before Lauren Bunner, her boyfriend, killed her. He shot her in the head twice, once in the back and once between the eyes. He then pushed her body down the same cliff that she was standing on in the photo. Lauren and Jolie had split up in August of 2017. Only a few days later, Lauren asked her to go out hiking with him on the Pinhoti Trail in Alabama. As if she knew what was about to happen, Jolie had contacted a friend before the hike, saying in her text, "If anything happens to me, you'll know who I was with."